Welcome back, Nick Lenz, Comic Corner, Classic, Non-Classic. This is episode number 1196, and Doubleshot number 1090. Yeah, 4 more episodes to go until I reach episode number 1200. Now, these are 2 Thor trades. The first one is the end of an era, the other, of course, the start of an era. We have the final trade that collect issues from Jason Aaron's run, Thor, Volume 3, War's End. This collects issues 12 to 16 of Thor, Volume, I believe this is volume number. I'm trying to think, what number was this one? 1, 2, 3. I think this is like 5 or 6. Yeah. Mike Del Mundo is the artist who does the majority of this. He does issues 12, 13, 15, 16. 14 is done by Scott Hepburn. Now, like in the case of the last trade, it's mostly a series of standalone stories. Now, these are simple, like, I would say for 12 to about 12, 13, 14. I would say 12 to about 14 are just tie-ins to War of the Realms. First one is focused on Loki. Probably just after he got absorbed by his father. Yep. He just battles some creatures, this grotesque imagery. You see him get sort of eaten by his father, but he does get out, no problem. Battles some frost giants. Basically, a lot of reminiscing about what happened with him during some of the other portions of Thor's run, of Jason Aaron's Thor run. Yep. Yeah, but not much else to say here about this. Just basically just a standalone issue. 13 is basically an issue focused on the god of fear called Borson. Yep. A character who everybody thought was dead until he was resurrected by Jason Aaron in the pages of Original Sin Thor and Loki the 10th Realm. Yeah, mostly a flashback of Thor lifting a hammer, though he has some success. Thor crying. We also have it where Odin and Kull basically have a fight. And we see also basically during the time when Thor was basically to the unworthy Thor. This is before he basically got his power back. Yeah, and also there's this poster of False Thor, Thief. Yeah, that was something that Odin did when Jane Foster was Thor. So you can kind of say this is mostly a lot of the stuff from the God of Fear's perspective. Him battling dark elves. Really fun stuff here when it comes to Kull Borson. To one witch hammers. This is interesting. Because, yes, you can see in the cover, yes, the Venom symbiote shows up in here, but no Eddie Brock is nowhere to be seen. We see that Thor is basically staring at Mjolnir, and he decided to pass on it. And now we get into deep into War of the Realm. Basically, we get kind of what Thor was up to, some of it. We see something from his perspective. Like, basically, it's young Thor. Yeah, it's stuff from young Thor's perspective, where he's basically witnessing a lot of the stuff during the War of the Realms. We briefly have one point where Malekith becomes a host of Venom symbiote. Don't worry, it's not really official. He becomes a butcher of Thor's. This is before he got handed off. Because all this is focused on is young Thor and him basically holding Mjolnir for the first time. Yep. 15 is the Aftermath issue, right after the events of War of the Realms. Thor gets a brand new arm. He gets an eye patch. He gets his hammer back. He's basically become Thor again. Basically Thor we know the way we know and love him. Now, he's still wearing the same outfit, mind you. He's basically more regal than he was before. He's got a gold trim in his outfit now. Yep, it's a brand spanking new attire. An attire that he actually is, as far as I can tell, still wearing. He hasn't really altered at all, despite the fact in the current run he basically became a herald of Galactus, which I thought that was interesting. So basically, this issue kind of basically picks up where the ending of War of the Realms left off, where Thor becomes a new Allfather. Yep. And pretty much all this is just dealing with the aftermath of War of the Realms, where Jane Foster's getting some powers. We have Spider-Man and Doctor Strange holding one of the fire demons hostage. We have Loki's father, basically, well, his corpse. Yeah, Loki got eaten by him. Well, he ate Loki, and Loki basically carved himself out of him. basically still in the aftermath. And apparently it looks like, though, that Loki has become the new king of the Frost Giants. Yep. Which, well, in case you're wondering, Loki did get a brief ongoing series after War of the Realms, which got quickly canceled of just 5 issues. Seriously, Marvel, what is your problem with basically whenever you try to give Loki an ongoing series? With the capture Loki Invasion of Asgard, which that was a damn good title, but that was ended after 17 issues. Twice now, you've given a Loki an ongoing series, and you end it too quickly. You end after 5 issues. I mean, do people not have any interest in basically around Loki? I mean, I think though that the films made him super popular. Okay, now we have Malekith after he got eaten by those creatures. He is in the afterlife. He's in Niflheim, where he's talking to Hela and her queen. Yes, Jason Aaron basically at the end of his first arc for this relaunch for a fresh start, decided to have himself a lesbian wedding. Yep, a lesbian wedding. Yeah, Hela married a woman. And as far as I can tell, this is still okay. Yes. Yeah, as far as I can tell, this was the, well, second marriage that Marvel had as part of Fresh. That's one of 2 they've had. The other, of course, was the long-awaited marriage of Alicia Masters and Ben Grimm the Thing. Yeah, that was something that Marvel writers have probably been wanting to do for a long time. But some people higher up's like, no, we should leave Thor, we should leave Thing a bachelor, have him have dated other women. Can't have Alicia Masters, nope. Dan Slott probably thought, screw that, I'm marrying them. Because this is something that should have been done a long time ago, so I'm marrying them. Yeah, and Jason Aaron probably was like, I'll top you that. I'll marry Hela to a woman. I'm sure probably Jason Aaron probably did that at some meeting. It's like, Dan's I'll marry Thing and Alicia Masters. Jason Aaron's like, I'll marry Hela and a woman. That might have been the meeting when they discussed this at Fresh Start, but yeah. So Malekith is basically in hell, and he's basically devoured once again by their beast. Asgard, Thor sits in empty Asgard, but he basically gets appointed some new ministers. Yeah, and we have this wonderful thing. He interacts with King Thor from the future and young Thor. Yep. And then we see Odin and Freya, which basically Odin's like, he hugs all 3 versions of his son, the young one from the past, the present Thor, and the future Thor, who's actually king. And then we have Jane Foster basically says, like, there must always be a Valkyrie. Yeah, that's actually set up for the Jane Foster Valkyrie series, which that's still going. Despite the fact that Jason Aaron was writing the book, we were co-writing it with Al Ewing. He has since left, and I think got replaced writing the book. Thor, of course, basically does whatever. Freya goes off with Odin. Everything is, like, slowly going back to normal. And apparently they decided to throw in some stuff from the Omega issue where we see some rebuilding happening. We see Angela basically having a feast with Hercules. Yeah, that should be interesting. Yeah, imagine if Hercules decided to hit on Thor's smoking hot sister. That would be something. Or what if Thor made her an Avenger? That would be awesome. We have Heimdall basically looking at some of the World Tree remains. And, well, we have the Congress of Worlds basically having their meeting. Beta Ray Bill is here, which that's cool, along with Frog Thor and the Demon Dog Thor. Yeah, that was something Karen Gillan came up with. And then we have sort of the Ministers 3, where Hogan, Fenrir, and Hergard are the Ministers 3, the Ministers of Justice. Which, okay, I get the fact that the Helgard, who is actually, he's one of the senators now. It's Volstagg. Yeah, it's Volstagg's wife. Which originally, here's kind of the strange thing comes with Volstagg's wife. Sometimes she appears with the same body size as him, and sometimes basically some artists depict her as such a hot babe. Yeah. Yeah, this woman is Volstag's wife. And she kind of fills in for him because he's off doing Congress of Worlds. And we have this great scene of Lady Sif basically talking to Ra Solomon about how the Minotaur, Dagger Agro, gets off scot-free despite the fact he was a freaking collaborator and invaded Antarctica. Yep. It was like, wonder where Thor is. He's basically earning his stripes. So basically he uses his hammer to transport hearts. He has, of course, we have Boulder dealing with stuff in Siflheim. We have wondering where the heck Thor is. Thor's goat. And of course you have Thor basically giving food to the Dark Elves. This is so funny. Volstagg is like, this is an act of war. Someone stole the buffet. He's not coming, is he? Yep. So he basically is earning his stripes as the... We also have apparently... Looks like the Asgardians drinking with... Looks like Tony Stark, Rhodey. I don't think that's Phil Coulson. I'm not sure who that is. I do see She-Hulk there. She's having a lot of fun. And of course you have Freya and Odin basically do off their own thing. And of course we have King Thor and Past Thor basically going back to their own times. Past Thor is like, you can wait. I'll go off basically whatever. And then King Thor goes back to the future where he is attacked by Loki. Yep, they hinted at this particular creature, this version of Loki in the story. And it's to be continued in King Thor. Wow. This was a damn good storyline. Yep. Great time. Now, I am going to get my final thoughts on Jason Aaron's run for Thor. Because issue 15 was technically the end of his run for Thor. A run that's been going on since 2012. A 7-year run in the book. And he put out a lot of stuff. Now, technically, I haven't covered King Thor yet because, well, the trade has not been released yet. But I will get my final thoughts here. This run is by far a really damn good run. It's very interesting. Originally, I didn't like the start of the run because I thought the gore was kind of boring. But the thing is, later on, I reread the issues and I realized, though, yeah, I was wrong. I was completely wrong about the start of the run. The run itself was fantastic. And one thing I thought was really cool is the fact, well, not only introduced now, Jason Aaron introduced a lot of really cool aspects about Thor that are still kind of there. Like King Thor, the one from the future, having the past Thor wearing the Jack Kirby attire because, well, we gotta have Jack Kirby. Introducing a brand new villain, Gore, which was awesome. Introducing a new potential love interest for Thor, Ra Solomon, which I kind of felt as though she actually had a thing for Thor. But it seems as though Thor wanted a relationship with her. All that changed after that last arc before Original Sin started up. Yeah, where she basically asked Thor to take out frickin' Raxon. Yeah, but before that we had the League of Realms, which, cool concept. And all that was basically set up for stuff later. Yeah, the thing with War of the Realms, that is a story Jason Aaron's building up since the start of his run. Which, what a way to go out with something like War of the Realms, which is an awesome event. Then, of course, we have the stuff with... Now, I get the fact... Now, I'm glad he revisited Braxon because it seems as though that he had... That was only... I went a couple times he visited that place because that was something that JMS and Karen Gillian and Fraction basically had a lot of their stuff for them. And he was like, no, I'm not going to basically do it, Braxon. And he had just a brief stop there for an arc. Came back there once after that, and that was simply it. Now, Dagar was actually the second villain he introduced during his run. Now, during his previous arc, he brought back Malekith, a character not been seen in a few years, which was great to see him. And at the time, he was brought back purely because he was simply going to be the main villain of Thor: The Dark World. Yeah, that was the only reason why they brought him back. And basically, the League of Realms were simply put, basically, according to Ra Solomon, which he was later when Jane Foster was Thor, as the Avengers version of the Fellowship of the Ring. Yeah, basically the token Avengers, which that's what she referred to him as. Which that was kind of funny because there's a lot of stuff with Tolkien here. I think the League of Realms was a cool concept, and it's great though the fact that, and plus revisiting Jane Foster, which was a fantastic idea, and interesting the fact she's got cancer, and then we had after the wrap up of the arc that came right after League of Realms, we had the original Sin tie-in, we had 25, which introduction to the female Thor, and during the events of original Sin, we had Thor lose his arm. Well, actually, he basically was no longer anything worthy of his hammer, and then at the start of the relaunch of the book, he lost his arm. But here's the thing. This was quite interesting when it comes to Thor. Now, apparently the events of Access kind of took place from Thor's perspective just before he went to go fight Malekith. Yeah, that was kind of the strange thing if you look at it, is that before, it's almost like the events of Access kind of took place during the events of issue 1 for the relaunch of Thor that came right after Thor God of Thunder. And he lost his arm, which he still has, which he basically later lost thanks to female Thor. The female Thor was around for a good few years. Heck, he put out an annual or two during the run. And of course, we had the Mighty Thor coming out the Secret Wars, which is still amazing. And keep on all the stops and fantastic stuff, and still kept building up War of the Realms. He even had a tie-in, he even had the miniseries for Secret Wars, he had Thor's. The thing is, that's a plot thread that was actually explored during the relaunch of his run for Thor that came after Secret Wars. Which is great the fact he did, because he had Volstagg lift up the ultimate Thor's hammer, became the War Thor. That was a great first story arc. And then we had the death of the Mighty Thor. We had Jane Foster sacrifice Mjolnir. But Thor got his power back, became basically what he was. And then he had that really good story arc with him going to basically the underworld to basically kind of bring back Boulder and Scourge. Yes, the Executioner. Yep. It's almost like Jason Aaron did that arc, just set up the Asgardians of the Galaxy, which is a damn good book that got canceled after 10 issues. Yeah, and Boulder basically, I think bringing him back was definitely a good idea, because I kind of asked, when the heck did Boulder even die in the first place? Because there he was in the afterlife for some explained reason. I'm also kind of glad the fact he followed something that Marjorie Bennett did for Angela's book. Yeah, where at one point Angela was the ruler of Hell, but she handed off to Boulder, and then Boulder stepped down, and again Hela basically took back over. Yeah, it was really good. And then we had War of the Realms, like, not long after that, and then we have this Aftermath. This run for Thor was, in my opinion, one of the best runs for Thor has ever seen. It was a damn good run. It is by far one of the longest runs for Thor that's ever basically people can think of, because the longest run for Thor still to date is Walt Simonson in the 80s. The other one comes, there's only 2 other runs that come really close to that. Tom the Falcon's run in the 90s, and of course Jason Aaron's run. And Jason Aaron did a lot of books. Though his run basically was notorious for its relaunches. Like, oh my gosh, this book had like 5, like at least about, let's see. You had Mighty Thor. You had the Thor God Thunder started when it was relaunched as simply Thor. And then became the Mighty Thor. And then Thor again. It got relaunched 3 times over the course of 7 years. Yes. Now, Jason himself probably didn't like that very much, but the books themselves are really damn good. Yep. Jason Aaron's one is fantastic. The only book I recommend kind of part of his run is Unworthy Thor. Yep. That book is purely fantastic. Love it. And plus, I love the fact for his 7th issue for Thor, like, not only was it double-sized, it had multiple artists on it, it brought back basically the Frog Thor, which that was really amazing, and it felt like a good celebration for Thor's run of the Thor comic book, which kudos for basically Jason Aaron to do that. And it was a lot better than what Bendis did for Uncanny X-Men. They had multiple artists on it, but it wasn't a double-sized issue. Yep. Alright, moving on to the start of JMS's run for Thor. Thor by JMS, Volume 1. Yeah, J. Michael Straczynski. Yep, this is the start of his run. This is the first 6 issues of his run, and this run is basically famous for debuting a brand new look for Thor. Yep, where he's got sleeves. Now, those of you who recognize this look, minus the helmet, yes, it's the same outfit that Chris Hemsworth wore in the very first Thor movie. Yes, which kudos to the fact that Chris Hemsworth actually put on this outfit. Though here's kind of the strange thing when it came to the Avengers, which came out the following year, they got rid of the sleeves. Yep, they got rid of the sleeves. But still the same outfit, and he had this outfit for a long time. I think he must have had this outfit from, basically this was 2007. He must have had this outfit for, let's see. I think he had this outfit for, I think it was like almost 10 years he had this outfit. Yeah. But this whole run is simply, this first set of issues is this. We have basically a bit of explanation of who Thor is, and we see that he's basically going through Ragnarok, and we see something that happened during one of the Civil War frontline issues where some guy walks up and picks up Thor's hammer and flies away. Who is it? Dr. Donald Blake, who making his first appearance in Marvel Comics at this point, first time since the 70s. Yes, because Donald Blake was made to a separate person by one of the writers, and he got written off and he did his own thing. Yeah, and it's interesting how Donald Blake basically was brought back by JMS. And, Thor basically had a task. He had to basically get out of Ragnarok, which that was the first task he had to do. And here he is, his brand new look. Great outfit. I love it. Basically, I love the front of his outfit, which is basically in keen with almost the classic Jack Kirby look, which is amazing. So, you have Donald Blake basically trying to reestablish basically becoming Thor again, and he's basically just, we see him at a diner, and then he basically comes across some land, and basically some thunders, some clouds, and he pretty much just builds a castle. Yep, first thing he does in issue 2, first issue 1, gets out of Ragnarok. Second, rebuilds frickin' Asgard. And this version of Asgard, believe it or not, would actually still be around in Marvel Comics up until Siege, where it was destroyed, though it was later rebuilt by Tony Stark as Asgardia. Yep, of course, Thor receives his memories. He just walked on the place. Though he runs some legal issues with the law because he's on private land, though he decides to float. Yep, he decides to float basically 8 feet off the ground for Asgard. Now, basically, not much problem. Yep, but don't worry, this comes back to hurt him later. And then some guy basically said the farmer owns the land. It's like, hey, why don't you just basically take some money here? Well, basically you can just buy it. Takes a whole truckload, like a whole treasure trove. And he bought some land and basically used it to, and he flies out. And then in issue 3, he starts basically doing something that JMS would do. Bring back the Asgardians. Yep, and then basically he's informed about the events of Civil War 1. What happened, all the political stuff, and then he runs into Iron Man. First time since his resurrection. Yep. Well, apparently he has overheard of somehow he found out about what he did during Civil War 1. He's never happy about it. So, what does he do? He beats the living crap out of him. Yeah, he busts him up. He rightfully deserves his beatdown. Yep. So, basically, Iron Man makes him a deal. It's like, okay, compromise position. If we treat Asgard as a separate entity like diplomatic mission on embassy, it's not like it's officially United States, especially since it's technically 8 feet above U.S. territory. That put Asgard and anyone who lives there outside the jurisdiction of the Restoration Act, and gives you diplomatic immunity. An approach along those lines make you sure my superiors don't lose face. That wouldn't be necessary to sell this. How does it work for you? That'll be suffice. You can go. My armor's fried. How am I supposed to get back to base? Walk. One last thing. At this moment, I have more pressing business to attend to. But the time has come. When in time, we assure you we will finish discussing your violation of my person, my genetic code, and what was once a friendship that I valued. Right. Yep. And as far as I know, I don't think he pops up again in this run. No. So basically, he comes across just a guy just sitting there, and he's some little, see the little girl's looking, like, apparently finds out who this guy is actually Heimdall. Yep. Heimdall was hiding this guy. And basically, well, show HQ, which I think is probably Avengers Tower. So he reveals the armor is basically builds back an hour. And well, Heimdall was the first person he revives because, well, gotta have a Guardian. And you can see by the cover of issue 4, yep, he's gonna bring back the Warriors 3. The one that takes the longest is Lady Sif. Yeah, that one takes a freaking long time to bring her back. So basically Thor goes to Africa, meets up with 3 guys, basically deal with the whole revolution thing, like Civil War, and they basically freeze and basically restores to life the Warriors 3. Yep, in their classic Jack Kirby attires, which great that the artist of this book basically remembered, oh yeah, we remember these guys for this, and deals with basically a crack in the land, and then basically people will start coming back. And then we have in issue 5, where a guy puts a mailbox for Asgard before the town meeting to clock Braxton. Okay, special delivery. Yeah, and of course he goes to some deserted area, walks down, sees some prisoners. Actually, I think it's supposed to be the townspeople, like, being held hostage by the Destroyer. Yep, the Destroyer's back. He gets to fight with the damn thing. Yep, fight. And he able to free its host. Turns out to be Bolt of the Brave. Yep. Love this look for him. I love Bolt of the Brave. He's an awesome character. So he takes the Destroyer. And then Loki's back. Yep, Loki's back. As a woman. Yep, this is something JMS did. Believe it or not, this technically is not Loki. This is Loki possessing the body of Lady Sif. Yes, this is something JMS did. Apparently, JMS thought a good idea for Loki to become a woman for a brief period of time. So, okay. So, we see that Hela's back. Dr. Doom pops up. Everything's a hunky-dory here. We see everybody simply... The Asgardians simply living by at Braxton. Everything's like... They act like good neighbors. And we see a guy named Bill who interacts with this beautiful woman. Hi. Beautiful, isn't it? Yes, beautiful. Yeah, he follows head over heels with this woman. I don't remember who this woman is. She kind of becomes his girlfriend during this run. Yeah. This is Bill the Brave. Yep. His name is William. So he talks to... So basically we just have like meeting of Thor. You have Don Blake turned back into Thor. Flies about, deals with some cosmic event. Yeah, it looks like going to New York City, going all over the place to bring back the Asgardians. And then basically he's later seen collapse in the field after his, well, lightning strikes to tell everybody, yeah, he's back. Yep. Great start for this run. Now, the artwork in here is done by, if I can find the artist on here, it's done by Oliver Capelli, which I think this guy is I think he's second on for most JMS's run. But don't quote me on that. This is a great start to JMS's run, even though I read it basically kind of when it was coming out. I love reading this run. It is really damn good. I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. War's End, I get that one also a 9.5 out of 10, okay? So yeah, that's it for this particular review. My next review, if I get a chance to start it tonight, will be a review of a new anime that I've started. I'm still doing Death March. Death March to... The series is called Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. I'm still planning on doing this anime, but right now I'm doing the series Love Tyrant. Yes, Love Tyrant. Yeah, I'll explain what it is when I discuss when I do my first part of my 3-part review for this particular thing. It's only 12 episodes, and most of the manga, I'll figure out later how much the manga adapts, okay? I'll figure out later, okay? Do this next video. Bye.